The Twitter sphere erupted earlier this week after Speaker of the House Paul Ryan posted this selfie with over 100 Capitol Hill interns. The fuss was because the majority of the interns are white. This prompted hashtags to trend called hashtag #InternsSoWhite and hashtag GOPSoWhite. Take a look. Joining me now is college Republican and proprietor of Liberal Bull, Josh Goodman. Josh, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
All right, Josh, first of all, you were actually in this photo. You're on break from college this summer. You're interning on Capitol Hill. If I'm not mistaken, you're about 3/4 of the way back in that photo, right?
Yeah, I'm in the back right there. It might be tough to see, but I'm in the back right. It was a good event. It was put together by Paul Ryan, and it was for Republican interns on the Hill this summer.
Right, and the interns in this photo, were they all Republican interns, or were they from both parties?
No, it's just a Republican internship for students working for various congressmen across the country.
All right, so as someone in this photo, as a Republican intern on Capitol Hill this summer, what's your reaction to this photo? That there was so much criticism on Twitter of the fact that it looks like the majority, if not every intern there is white. Does that bother you guys?
Well, I mean, that's first off, that's not true. I was actually seated. I'm in the back right. I was seated directly next to a young black woman from Arkansas. She's a very passionate Republican, someone who took her whole summer to work for the Republican Party, and I'm sure she's pretty disappointed seeing some of the comments that these gutter sites like Salon or Vox are saying. I mean, they're saying things that she's a token, that who let her into this event. I mean, this is someone who's working hard, very passionate about politics, has bright ideas, and yet she's labeled just because she thinks differently than the way they want her to.
Sure, but even given that, and I agree with your point, but even given that, when you look at that photo, clearly the majority of the interns are white. There's no arguing with that. Do you know why that is?
Right. No, that's true. No, I don't know why that is, but I think that it's something malicious without any evidence of that is wrong. I mean, and from what I've seen, a lot of these sites are doing that.
Right, I think you're right there. And also, I think liberals forget that in the presidential primaries this year, both Democratic candidates were white, upper middle class individuals. And if we look at the GOP from the beginning of the primary season, 2 of their candidates were Latino, 1 black man, 1 woman, and 1 Indian. So the party that's claiming to be the party of diversity really isn't. And the party that is the party of inclusion, the GOP, were the ones that were illustrating the party of diversity.
No, and you're right, and I would have loved to seen more diversity in that photo, definitely. I mean, I think the Republican Party could definitely improve in that. But I think it's ironic that you have these sites, these left-wing sites, complaining that there is no diversity, and yet these are the same people who are misleading the country, saying that Republicans are xenophobic, saying that Republicans are racist, without any evidence. But they're doing this, and a lot of people, it's the only information they're getting, and they're misled. They think that represents the Republican Party when it doesn't at all. The Republican Party wants to expand equality to everyone. They, in my opinion, would be better for minorities economically, financially, in every aspect. The Republican Party would benefit them, but these sites have put this label unfairly, and now they're complaining that it's too white.
Right, it's a classic move by the mainstream media. They hijack the narrative to create it into what they want to create so that they can brand the Republican Party the way that they want, so that everyday Americans view the Republican Party through a certain lens. It's a liberal distraction tactic, really, to avoid talking about the real issues, which, just like you said, are the finances, the economy, job creation, and safety, which apply to every American, regardless of your race, regardless of your socioeconomic status. We see this on college campuses, too, and I think you and I talked about this couple months ago, because on your college campus, we saw this when there were the chalk drawings of Donald Trump that people made a fuss about. They acted like it was vandalism, that it was this terrible hate crime, when these individuals, these Republicans, were just expressing their views, but they were told that they were almost essentially criminals for doing so.
No, I mean, and I totally agree, and that's becoming a major problem on college campuses. I mean, that's one of the things that the left or the liberals supposedly stand for, is freedom of thought, freedom of speech. But now, if you're on a college campus, if you don't succumb to their viewpoint of mass government entitlement programs, if you don't open borders, condemnation for Israel, if you don't fall in line with those viewpoints, you're somehow viewed as intolerant. You're somehow viewed as racist, which that's not what college should be about. So I think it's a major problem.
All right, Josh, we're almost out of time here, but I want to touch on one other thing with you. At the Republican convention these past few days, Ivanka Trump, daughter of Donald Trump, she spoke directly to millennials. She said in her speech that as a millennial, she doesn't necessarily identify entirely with one party or another, that she's not a Republican, she's not a Democrat. Of course, she supports her father because of the policies that he stands for, but she really pushed away from the label, the identity. In your opinion, does that resonate with college students?
I think it does. I think it does. I think especially when you look at the Republican Party, I think there is some improvement to do on social issues. The millennials have kind of moved to the left on some of those issues, but I think the Republican Party has improved on that. I mean, yesterday you saw Donald Trump speak pretty openly about support for gay Americans. I don't think you would have seen that 20 years ago in the Republican Party, and that's definitely a step in the right direction for reaching millennials.
Right, and I think her speech was rather well received. Josh, that's all the time we have for today, but thanks so much for being here. Our final tipping point of the night: does one vote even make a difference? We'll be right back with the answer.